5.3, add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. We're going to start by adding polynomials with the horizontal method. So horizontal method just means we're going across. I'm not going to rewrite the problem. We're just going to look for all of our like terms and collect those. And remember, we're always trying to write in descending order. So I see I have in my problem third power squared, x the first, and constants. We're going to want to keep them in that order. So 4 and -5 would be a -1x cubed. Or just -x cubed, right? I don't need that. 4x squared minus 2x squared would be a plus 2x squared. Minus 3x minus 4x, so minus 7x. And then 10 minus 4 is a 6. So the vertical method is when I'm rewriting them. And I would do this if I was writing down the problem for my homework. I would do this first off. And look, I'm already screwing it up. So when I go ahead and write them in my homework, 4x cubed plus 4x squared minus 3x plus 10, I would immediately write it with that second polynomial stacked underneath so that I can put my like terms together. And then when I add them, they're already set up in columns. I don't have to go looking for like terms. So generally speaking, I think if it's in a worksheet and the problem is already laid out horizontally, I would probably just work it that way. But if I was copying it from my book, I might just do this. So when I am adding, I have a -x cubed plus 2x squared minus 7x plus 6. Always good when I get the same answer for both, and that checks. We're going to show the horizontal method again on a subtraction problem. So for the subtraction problem, I'm going to actually write it out because I need to distribute that minus sign to my second set of parentheses. So I never actually subtract. I always change it to adding the opposite. So I'll have a plus 4x cubed and a minus 6x squared minus 9x and a plus 3. And I've got to look around for those like terms again. 3x cubed, 4x cubed would make a 7x cubed. Let's see, 4x squared minus 6x squared, so -2x squared. 7x minus 9x is minus 2x, and then 12 plus 3 is 15. So again, if I was copying this from my textbook, I would probably just change it to vertical right away. So 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus 7x plus 12. And then underneath, when I distribute my negative, I'm going to have 4x cubed minus 6x squared minus 9x plus 3. I guess you'd really have to copy the problem and then change the signs. Or you could even have them maybe the opposite to start with and go through with a colored pencil or something and change them if you're copying right away in vertical format. So 7x cubed minus 2x squared minus 2x plus 15 again. So this really should be reviewed. You should be pretty comfortable adding polynomials. So for example 2, we're actually multiplying. So when I multiply and I have a binomial times a trinomial, my horizontal method will just be to go through. I'm going to multiply 2x times everything in the second one, and then plus 3 times everything in the second one. I'm just going to write out one big long list, then I'm going to look for those like terms. So 2x times 3x squared would be a 6x cubed plus 2x times 3x is a 6x squared plus, and then 2x times 5. So we got 10x. Now I go through and distribute to 3. 3 times 3x squared would be a 9x squared. 3 times 3x is a 9x. And 3 times 5 is 15. And now I have to look for all those like terms. My biggest power is cubed. I want to stay with that. And then squared, I have 6 and 9. So 15x squared. 10x and 9x is a plus 19x. And then a plus 15. So when I'm using the vertical method, I'd first have to write it out, just like I did for my original problem for the last one. But then when I multiply, I am going to do the 2x times all that stuff. And then when I go to multiply by 3, I'm going to stack it underneath so I have in columns where I can add again. So I'll still have the, let's see, 6x cubed plus 6x squared plus 10x. So I distributed the 2x. But now when I go back and distribute the 3, I'm going to write it underneath. So 3 times 3x squared is 9x squared. I'm going to write that underneath the 6x squared. 3 times 3x is a 9x. And you know what? This should have been a 10x up above. Glad I caught that. 3 times 5 is a 15. So now I don't have to go looking for those like terms. They're already stacked, and I can just add my columns. So 6x cubed, 15x squared, plus 19x plus 15. The longer the problem, the more I really like the vertical method. So for example 3, we're multiplying 3 binomials. We can multiply in any order. So I think I would choose to multiply these two x minus 1s first, just because they're the same and I recognize that pattern and I can instantly write down an answer. So I know when I multiply those out, I would have x squared minus 2x plus 1. And you can always go through and distribute that if you need to. I know that the 1 times 1 makes a 1, and then the 1 is doubled for my middle term. I need to multiply this by x plus 2. So I would probably choose the vertical again. I'm going to multiply x squared times both of those. So I'll have an x cubed plus a 2x squared. And then I'll take and multiply the negative 2x times both. And there's other ways of distributing this. I could be distributing starting with the x instead and working backwards. And that's fine. I think it's good to see it both ways. So negative 2x squared minus 4x. And then last I distribute the 1 times x, 1 times 2. And so I'm going to go down a third level, plus x plus 2. And now I can add them all in columns again. So I have x cubed. My x squareds cancel completely. Negative 4x plus x is going to be a minus 3x, and then plus 2. So I've got my final answer. For 4, we're just reviewing multiplying binomials. So for A, 5x times 5x, 25x squared. Oh, there's a minus and a plus, so we know what's going to happen. We get a plus 15x and a minus 15x. So our middle terms cancel. And then negative 3 times 3 is minus 9, so 25x squared minus 9. There's really no work to show for this one. If you know the answer right away and you understand the pattern and you're getting them right, that's fantastic. Same thing for B. It is not necessary that you write out both binomials and go through and multiply them. So I'm just going to model not showing the work, I think, so much on this one, but I wanted to write out both factors so we could look at it. So if we think about it, when we're multiplying the 4x times the 4x, we get a 16x squared. And then to get my middle term, I do 4x times a 7, and then the other 7 times the 4x. So 4 times 7 is 28, but that middle term is doubled. So 28 and 28 would be a 56x. And then I know my last term is at 7 squared. So the last term will be a 49. So on C, I have something to the third power, and I have two variables. So mx minus 6 times mx minus 6 times mx minus 6. So usually the more complicated it gets, the easier it is to have our remaining factor on the right to distribute. So I'm going to multiply these two first. So I'll have mx minus 6 times, and when I distribute these out, remember we're going to get that first term squared. So m squared x squared. My middle term will be doubled, so instead of 6mx, it'll be minus 12mx. And then my last term is squared again, so 6 times 6 would be a positive 36. So I still need to go through, though, and distribute by one more factor of mx minus 6. So I think I'm probably going to use the vertical format for this. And here I am moving the keyboard again. So mx times m squared x squared would be m cubed x cubed. And then I multiply mx times the 12mx, so that will make it a minus 12 m squared x squared. And then mx times the 36, so plus 36mx. Now I'm going to go through and distribute the 6. So negative 6 times m squared x squared. So negative 6 m squared x squared. Vertical also works good because I don't have enough space to write it all out in one line. Negative 6 times negative 12mx. So 6 times 12 would be 72. It's now positive 72mx. And then negative 6 times 36. Let's see, 36 times 6. Break out my multiplication. 18, 19, 28. So 216. Should have known that. So minus 216. And I don't think it's going to let me write off the edge of the paper. It's not. I'll have to remember that's a 216. So when I add m cubed x cubed. and a minus 18m squared x squared. And let's see, 72 and 36 would be 108 mx. And then remember I had a minus 216, but I can't figure out how to not make it drop off the paper there. I guess I could write it like that. This is the end of our 5-3 notes. Please make sure to ask in class if you have questions. Thanks.